Hi and welcome to my PlayHouse, and I'm here right by a Dell server, and I have had a request to do more server videos. And the weather is pretty gray today, so it's a good time to make a server video. Although I didn't really have any good ideas, so I took this down from the shelf because I don't currently have this running, and I will tell you why later. But I wanted to take you through this Dell server. It's a 2950. It's a rather old model. I just saw the manufacturer date, and it's from the 12th of December 2006. So it's not a new server, and you're probably able to get these on eBay for next to nothing. They made a lot of these at that time. I'll tell you why this is on the shelf a little later, and it's kind of sad. So, but we'll go through it, and there's not much in it. I've taken out the RAM and the processors of this server, but we can still see how it looks inside. Yeah, here's the front of the Dell PowerEdge 2950, and as you can see, I've labeled this as Lone Tower Visuals VMware 02. This was one of the first servers that I got, and I was using this for a couple of years. And this model has this nice feature of this front plate that comes off. There's like, you press a button here and this comes off. And that enables you to lock it so that you can do so that no one can tamper with it, and actually the keys are still hanging right over here. But it's a pretty cool thing. It goes on and comes off pretty easily. And otherwise this server is much like the IBM X Series 3650, the first one, model 1. It has room for 6 disks, it has a CD-ROM drive, and it has the 2 USB and 1 screen connection on the front. And this Dell has this menu thing in front of it that you can press a button here, and it will show you the server name, and I think also it's able to show you some errors. If there's some error on the server, it shows you that error. And here is the power on and power off, and if I'm not much mistaken, I remember this server being very noisy. The hard disks in it is SAS drives. They're pretty normal. This is a 15,000 rounds per minute disk, and they of course have the old Dell hard drive system. That works fairly well. Let's go to the back, or actually let's just turn the server around. Here we have the back of the server. Just go down a bit. There's a few slots missing because I've been taking out stuff of it, things that I didn't really need. So they're missing. Here are the 2 power supplies, but let's start at the other end. This is for the management port on the Dell server, and I think that's called a dock. And it has a serial port, in-out communication. We have another monitor connection. We have another 2 USB ports, and we have 2 GB connections. And then we have a power plug. The server, we have this locking mechanism, and it's pretty easy. You just put down your finger right there and it pops up. Except there's actually a screw on top of it, so you are able to lock it. I have a small coin here, and with a coin I can actually lock it so that I'm not able to open it. And go right back, and it can be opened. It's not much of security, but it's a little. So it opens up. And on the inside of the cover there's a small drawing, and there's some explanation for some jumpers. There's some system board information, what is everything. It has some numbers, but they don't really tell you here what the numbers are. They could have had it. Oh, they're there. Sorry, my mistake. The numbers are on the drawing, and out here it tells you what the number really is. And so that's okay. There's some memory information, some jumper information, and then there's the SATA rate controller cabling information and release point color. Yeah, it's something about that. The blue color devices, I guess the blue things you need to power off the server, and the orange things you can hot plug. So if something orange and it's more or less only the fan blowers, you can replace them while the server is running. So that's pretty normal. But otherwise there is nothing else on the cover. On the very front there's something in Chinese. I'm not able to read that. But this is the server inside. And there is this cover that you releases. So to start with, over here on this side of the motherboard, we have the dock adapter. It's a Dell management adapter something. And yeah, this is something that you buy separately for the server. You can choose to get the server without it, and then there will, I think there is still no then there is no network port. This card takes the port with it. So if you don't have a management adapter in this server model, you won't either have a port for it on the back of the server, because the port is on the card. The management adapter, it has a plug out here. I've never seen that used for anything, but it has it. So, but I don't know what it's for. It can probably do something really smart. So that's probably a good thing. And this is a riser card, this part, and it's for one card. You're able to plug in one network card or some other card in this spot over the management adapter, and over here or down here you're able to plug in two cards with a riser card that's in here, and it's the same. These are PCI X8 cards. So they go in here, and on the motherboard we have SATA controllers. There's two of them right there. So you are able to plug in SATA hard disks in the server as well. And further down here is the graphics chips. It's an ATI graphics card. that is in the server. Normally this is not very important because you rarely use the server's graphics card for anything except when you're configuring the server. Otherwise it should just run without anything, without any problems. Many other servers you're able to take out the riser card, and these come in different kinds, so you can get riser cards with other other plugs here, so you could put in a graphics card or something else which is longer, but that plugs in fairly easy like that, and it has blue handles, which means you have to power off the server. Here's the memory slots. There's not a lot of them, there's only 8 in this server, so it's not able to handle that much memory. I haven't got the figure for how much memory this server can handle, but I'll write it down here. Yeah, there it is, cool. And there's a lot of other good things on this motherboard. There's pretty many components on this board compared to some other boards that I've seen. So a lot of capacitors and noise redundance. I'm not sure what that's called, but yeah, there's a lot of them on the motherboard or system board. The next thing is the processors themselves. I'm just gonna remove this again, it's kind of in the way. But I wanted to actually take off one of these. Oh. Maybe we have to take this one off. This one off. And there's a plug on the other side as well. This is the cooler, and it's not that heavy compared to other coolers. And it's rather small as well, but I think it does the job. This server has been running with 3 GHz dual core processors. Right down there is actually the copyright 2006 sticker, so the board is from 2006, and as you can see the processors are missing. I'll come back to that, but this is the cooler, and under that you're able to put in the processor like this. And as always, you have to be very careful when you put in the processor not to damage any of the pins down here. They've changed that. Earlier the pins was on the processor, now it's on the system board, so it's even more scary to damage one of the pins on the system board than on a processor. It's much easier to exchange a processor than a system board. So, put this down again. There's not a lot of room in here for putting for your fingers. That's one, and that's another one. So now it's in there again. And here's the fans. They're a bit thick, pretty cool fans, and they make a lot of noise. sounds like a jet when you turn on the server. And they were hot pluggable. The server is not as well made as some of the IBMs. I think on the IBMs you can kind of see what the fans are meant for cooling down. And even though it has this shield for directing some of the air the right directions, I don't think it's not nearly as well made as the IBMs I've seen. But yeah, it kind of does the job. So we have at least one cooler cooling this processor, and this one is cooling this processor, and this one is like cooling a little of each, and then this one is cooling the edge of this processor and the RAM. So if this one dies, you don't have any cooling on the RAM. But it has a nice feature up here on the LED of this thing. Can we see that? No. It has some, if there's no memory in some of the slots, it will reduce the airflow over that slot by putting down one of these plastic things in front of it. That's okay, that's pretty nice. But otherwise this plastic is pretty irritating to work with. It's always in the way. And it ain't that easy to put on all the time. There we are. So moving up front. This is the rate controller, and up here is the PCB for the plugs in front of the server. Like there's the menu here where the server name and arrows and on off button and some light diodes and the monitor connection, and they go down to a board down here. Underneath here there's a board standing up, and then there's the rate controller right here. And this is, I don't know, I don't like this very much. I think it's kind of flimsy. There's too many connections. Every one of these connections, they can go bad. And there's a connection underneath here as well, and there's a connection up here. I think this is a memory block or something for the rate controller. 256 megabytes. This is an old server. Today you would probably have a gigabyte at least. And there's these connections everywhere that goes to the hard drive base, and they're just, well, I just don't like them very much. Yeah. Not that they are not working, they work fine, no problem there. And here there's battery backup for the rate controller. That's on there pretty snug. Just remove this cable to go see the battery. Oh, it comes off. Okay, it's not meant to come out that easily, but As always, the battery backup is for if you lose power on the server and it is doing some kind of operation and it has data that it has not yet stored on the hard drives. It will save the data in the RAID controller, and when power is restored to the server, it will write that data that it didn't get to write when the power went out. So you won't lose any data, and there's a better chance for the server not having any errors or missing data or smashed things when you do it that way. I might add that the memory in this server is compatible with the memory in the IBM 3650 Model 1, or the original one, because I actually took out the memory in this server and put it in my IBM servers. And it had 16 gigabytes of memory, this server. When this server was bought, it was a fairly expensive model, and this server has been used for something very important at my work, so there was no expenses spared. So it was like a very good server when it was brand new. But let's come to why this is on the shelf and not in production any longer. This server is probably just as good as my IBM 3650s. They kind of do the same processors, and the configuration is much alike. The only exception is the power supplies. I'm just going to take one of them out. Because I had a power failure at my data center. We had a lightning storm and the power was lost. And I have two of these IBM's Dell servers, and they were both totally dead afterwards. And I've had this taken apart, and I could not find any fuses or anything wrong with it. But there's no power on the server anymore. And it's both of these Dell 3950s that just went totally dead, and I've not been able to find anything wrong with them except nothing is working. No power on them. And I've tried with some other power supplies, and I don't know if that power supply was any good, but I was not able to get this server up and running again. So I had two of these servers that are dead, and that's kind of really irritating because it's a good server. I would have liked to use it some more. This only came with a dual core processor, but I could replace that with a quad core processor and I could get some more power out of it. But the power supply or the power backplane on the server has failed on me. So that's no good. And at the time I think I had 4 IBM servers also running, and they were like, when the power came back on, they were just like good, no problem whatsoever. So one lightning storm, I lose 2 Dell servers and everything else runs. So that's actually why I haven't done anything more than take this apart and see if I couldn't find a blown fuse or something like that. Because I don't really want a server that dies that way. Like 2 servers of the same brand that just dies. That I didn't feel safe with that. So I kind of put it on the shelf and took out the processors. These processors was put into some blade servers, and the memory was put into the other IBM 3650 servers. and otherwise the server is just hanging around. But if anyone can tell me what to change in a power supply like this, if it's gone bad, or if there's something on the system board down here is some power stuff, if there's something that I can just change and everything will be good again, I would really love that. Then I could maybe use this server for something. The power supplies themselves, they have a bit of a funny system when you want to take them out. There's this letter, and actually that's orange as well, so this is hot pluggable. I didn't see that, but it has a mechanism for taking them out. You push this and this comes out, and when it's incorrectly, when you push it out and let this go, you push out the power supply. There we are. And I'll just go and find a power cord and we can see this not working. So I found a power cord and I popped it in. It's right over here. The one I found was not long enough, so I have extended it. No problem. So let's plug this in. Last time I did this, absolutely nothing happened. So let's see what happens this time. It did say click, as if there was now power on the system. There must be a capacitor or something in here that was not lit. Or there was no power on the capacitor, so I charged the capacitor when I plugged it in. Let's try the other one. Come on. Yeah, this is in the way. And this set the same sound. Just a little plug. But there was supposed to be light in some of these light diodes down here. There is a light diode that tells you that there's power connected to the power supply, and that's not on. And there's a diode to tell you that there's problems with the power supply, and that's not on. I might have mistaken those. Actually, this one is the light diode that tells you that there's power on the power supply, and this one up here tells you if there's power going into the server or if the power into the server is okay. But none of them is on. So it's really weird. I might have to take these apart again and see if I can find the mistake on them. What has happened? But well, it would only be to satisfy my curiosity. So yeah, that's why these servers are on the shell, and it has a buddy out there also not doing anything. And I'm just gonna put the server back together now, so that it's always nice to keep the parts together, so that they're not scattered too much, so you can find them. That's actually why the keys are hanging right here, because otherwise they would have been long gone by now. There we are. The server is put back together, and now I'm gonna put it back on the shell. So here the server is now. Right besides it's just a dead brother or sister. I don't know if servers are he or she. and next to another server, rather old one. It had the benefits of having a lot of disks. This was actually a good deal. I bought this from it's like the eBay but the Danish version, and I bought this for 2,000 kroners, and I took out a RAID controller and sold that for 1,800 kroners, so the entire server only costs 200 kroners because I didn't need that RAID controller. And then there's a KVM switch, and here is a 100 megabit switch, and next to that is an old HP, or actually it's a compact server, compact Brilliant server, and it's a Pentium 3, and it's on the shelf because it has a LTO drive, and that is next to a couple of fiber optic switches, and those are next to a couple of compact storage arrays for Dash, and they can be connected to a server like that, or they could be connected to one of the newer ones. But that's what's on the shelf right now, and there's a lot of other hardware equipment. It's a mess. And down here is the cables. So I was just putting back the cables also. And this one was on the door. Oh yeah, there's a shelf up here as well with some server hardware. And it's mostly hardware that was just too good to throw out. So this is a array of CD drives, and it's network connectable, so you can have a tower and you can like mount a CD drive to a server or a computer, and you have all those drives. And I'm probably never gonna use that for anything, but it's just too good to throw out. And then there's a couple of other servers. I think actually maybe this is an HP server, I'm not totally sure. And then there's this one that's like a do-it-yourself server or something. And down here is a Dell tape library, and there's a stack of Blade servers. So yeah, that's kind of the stockpile of used hardware. So yeah, that was kind of the video of today. The Dell server, or the 2 Dell servers with the 4 dead power supplies. If you just happens to sit out there and know what's wrong with a Dell server at 2950 when the power is bad like that, I would love to know it. Just write it down in the comments, please, and I might do another video where I fix it if it's fixable. If it's not too complicated, I might fix them. I could probably resell them for some amount of money. That would be okay. And instead of them sitting on a shelf, just losing value. Thank you for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel. I like subscribers, and do give it a thumbs up, and you'll see me again. Have a nice day. Bye bye.